The destination for TV superfan discussion, AfterBuzz TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
Woo! We've got Anthony Becerra.
Hit the lights. Yo, what's up? It's Anthony Becerra here. Oh my God. I wish I had a pigtail.
It's a beautiful life indeed. I'm your host, Phil Svitek, and we're talking the Netflix latest series, Everything Sucks. We're going to break it down all in one episode. We're going to talk non-spoilers for those of you who are concerned.
Non-spoilers.
At the very beginning, and then we're going to move into spoiler territory where we break down each of the characters and actual arcs within the series. It's a 10-episode series. Each episode is about 22 minutes, so it's very digestible for you guys. And we do have
eat it up.
That's right. We have someone very special for you as well a little bit later in the show, so stay tuned for that. That's what we call a tease.
Ooh, tease. I wonder who that could be.
So, again, this is the non-spoiler section. We will let you know exactly when the spoiler section comes with a little bit of a warning. But overall thoughts, Anthony, on this series?
I really liked it. I heard some things beforehand, before I saw it, that weren't too... as in, like, they weren't really setting it up for me, but I was like, you know, I'm just going to go in, I'm going to watch it myself, see what I think. And the first episode, I feel like it sets you up for something that actually isn't. Because the more you keep watching it, the more that what you think it is, the package shortly, like, starts to unravel. And you start to see how complex it actually is. And it's not just, like, it's not... It sets up characters at like a surface level, like in the first episode, and you're like, oh, okay, I got most of it. But then the more you start seeing, the more like all these characters, like their I guess the intricacies of their webs and of their characters like slowly start to spread out more, and you just start seeing how everything slowly starts connecting and it starts coming together. And it's just I thought it was brilliant. I really liked the show, I gotta say.
Yeah, and part of that. It's typical of a lot of TV series where they're, for the first couple of episodes, perhaps finding their voice. Or with this one, I'm wondering, is it by design where it lays out sort of the cliches, and then it just pulls the rug out from underneath you? Either way, if you stick with it, you will get sucked in. By episode 4, for me, I was full steam ahead, watching and binging, and that's what obviously makes Netflix so great. And yeah, I mean, as far as what they were going for, with the first, it's tough. I appreciate something like this that can sort of have. I've seen a lot of word of mouth, and it builds over time, because I like stories like this where it doesn't have to have the hook where, it's aliens come to life and this and that. It's like, no, it's just the '90s and it's kids and it's real problems.
Right. Yeah, exactly. It was so grounded. The first episode, it was like nothing. Like, yeah, I guess there's not really like a hook in the beginning, but it's just like, I guess like in anime terms, it's like a slice of life, you know? You're just seeing life unravel in front of you, and there's something so pleasant watching that. Especially with like characters that are so innocent in a sense, you know? Seeing how they're gonna just grow and develop in front of you, like where they start, and then how you slowly start to see them grow, and how they think and their thought processes, and how they changes, and the events that cause that change. It's really wonderful to see, because it just feels so real, and and the lessons it teaches are lessons that like I hope that people actually, when they're growing, like are able to learn these lessons as well in their lives. If not, watch this show and you'll be like, you'll have a 1-up on like in life lessons in a sense.
Yeah, one of the things that for me really drew me into the series was the fact that they were AV kids, and that's why I really stuck with it more so than perhaps other people, at least initially. And then when I got going, I really enjoyed it for beyond that. And I appreciate Ben York Jones and Michael Mohan. They're the ones who created this story, and you know, they're being compared to a lot of things, with Stranger Things, and yes, that has the Netflix time, but I think two completely different series.
Stranger, just because there's kids, like
yeah, exactly.
Like what?
They cite their inspiration really is a Swedish film back in 1998, which was called Show Me Love, and it was a coming of age lesbian story about a girl living in a small town trying to deal with high school. And when you look at that, you sort of see that as a jumping off point. And what I appreciate is that each of the characters are so defined, where you have Kate, who is that main character, but then you also have her best friend Luke. And though it's never outrightly stated, the fact that he's a black character, especially right now, it's happening kind of contextually within our own media, is really wonderful to see, and I appreciate that 100% for them wanting to bring this to life, and a story that, for the most part, is not something that they 100% relate to, but we're willing to tell it and willing to learn to tell it well.
Yeah, and I love how there's our characters right there. Yeah, it's not like in your face, like, oh yeah, this is a black character and like this is a lesbian. I just love the subtleties of it all. It doesn't have to point that out. It's just like, no, these are just kids. Like, just go with it, kind of thing. I completely agree with your point there.
And so there's multiple levels, as we're sort of talking about. There's freshmen in high school and kind of entering into a new world, and of course you have sort of the cliches of, you got the older kids picking on them and so forth. But then you have that extra layer where you have the adults,
right,
and their problems, and more so if you're going to compare it to Freaks and Geeks, where you had the parents in that. This just upped it up a notch in a way that was fantastic. And so let's, as a quick breakdown of the characters, let's start with the AV kids. You overall have Luke, who's one of our main protagonists.
Right.
You have Kate Messner, and then friends McQuaid and Tyler. Who did you gravitate towards most, and B, why?
I would say, well, oddly enough, I would say Kate, I think, because I was personally in high school, I felt like, not that my dad was like principal or anything, but I just felt like I didn't really fit in with a lot of groups in high school. So I was kind of like, I had a group of friends, but it was very like close knit group of friends. So I didn't really expand from anything else. And I also loved, as a kid, I also loved film and TV, but I was never in the AV club. But in hindsight, I was just like, man, I kind of wish I was, because it's just so cool, like messing with all that equipment with cameras and all that. And my school also had their own like news production. But yeah, I related to Kate, and then secondly, I loved Tyler because I think he's just so zany and crazy. He's just so wild. And I personally, I have like somewhat of a zany like quality to myself. The least I felt more like I related to the least was McQuaid, because he's just so analytical and logical. Like I am to a certain extent as well, but not enough to where it keeps me from taking risks, I guess.
Yeah, his logic, it was a form of negativity. It was never to help support something. It was to bring it down.
Right.
And we all have that friend and so forth. And so you have the vast spectrums all there. And I appreciated that. And, at times when McQuaid and Tyler are a little bit too much, that's where the friendship with Luke and Kate starts forming, and we'll certainly break it down more. I related to Luke the most on a surface level, because I don't want to bring up spoilers just yet. The fact that he loves movies and likes to make his own movies and forms a group of friends to make movies with, I appreciate that. And yeah, he's just a wonderful, wonderful character overall. As far as the other kids, there's the theater kids, which of all things, you would consider the jocks to be the villains,
right,
if you will.
Yeah.
But the fact that it's a couple from theater class, Emmeline and Oliver, it just adds this unique twist.
Yeah, I have to completely agree with you, because there's so many times within watching the show, I was just like, no, these aren't jocks. These are theater kids. Like, it's cool. It's like two different clans going up against each other, because you have the AV club, but then you also have like the AV club that are being like sought after from the drama kids, and I just thought it was so funny, because in a sense they're both kind of like the nerdy, it'd be seen as like the the nerdy groups in high school. You know, they're not like the super popular kids, but in their own right, like the drama kids are popular like within their own group though. You know, because they have like I love how they have the whole like the lunch performances within the first couple episodes. I thought that was hilarious. But I also love like how into drama they were, as like how they really loved drama and acting and their craft. Like especially Oliver was a little too probably into it, but I appreciated his spirit. And Emmeline, she was just weird. I mean, at first she was just so wild, but like to see her from like where you see her in the beginning and to where she ends, it's such a vast difference.
Well, I think part of her there's a side to her. She's still a chameleon. She's trying to figure out her own identity, which is a lot of these kids are ultimately. But when you look at it, Oliver, when you mentioned he has such a great passion towards theater, and that's what she's drawn to and attracted to, and that's why you surmise they're going out, and then something shifts, and she starts kind of attaching herself to other ideas throughout the series, and a question for me came up was, is this authentic or not? Who's to say? Because like most kids, we're just trying it out, and we don't know if it's our authentic self until we go through it. And they're like, nah, maybe not, maybe yes. And that's what I appreciate about her. And for all intents and purposes, she's the world's greatest cheerleader and supporter.
Okay, I get you. At first, I wasn't really sure what you were putting down, but okay, so she was just trying to. So are you saying she was kind of like trying, like when she was liking Oliver, it was like something that she was just trying, as in like.
Well, I think she enjoyed it, but part of it, there's just certain people who are infected by other people's passion, and I think Oliver, and I don't want to say too much because unfortunately I can't without it going fully deep, but that was my assessment, and I'll certainly talk about it when we get into the rest of things. As far as the setting of all of this, and we'll backtrack to the parents in a moment, but the setting, I appreciate how this all really came together. I for sure thought this would have been a passion project had I not done research as far as the place it takes place in, and the kids and whatnot, but they really created kind of a microcosm of things that they just researched and looked up. The fact that it's in, first off, Boring, Oregon, is where it takes place in. 2, Boring, Oregon is actually a town in Oregon.
Oh boy.
And the reason they even found that this place existed was they were Googling images of, quote, boring suburbs. And it came up. So, and I appreciated the joke within the actual show of who would name their town Boring?
Yeah.
Have a boring day.
Oh my God! I know. At the end of their newscast in the beginning, it's so funny. Also, how great were those characters too? The like the news, the anchors in every episode.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just so funny. What a funny relationship there.
Well, I don't know if they have a relationship. The guy, he certainly wants a relationship.
Well, no, it's like the relationship they have like on screen. It's just so. I just thought it was hilarious. Like It was a little tricky at first because I never knew what the guy wanted, but I'm guessing it was a relationship with her.
I mean, you knew what he wanted.
Yeah.
And especially with the whole Me Too movement, you could kind of see remnants of why this business is the way that it is, and the fact that no adult really addressed that.
Oh, okay.
Is interesting, but I don't want to.
Yeah.
We digress. As far as, so we mentioned the parents, and overall, we get 2 main parents. We get Luke's mom named Sherry, and we get Ken Mesner, who's Kate's dad, and he's also the principal. We've alluded to that as well. And I appreciate they have their own unique storyline that, yes, is tied into the kids, but then eventually becomes separate of that and goes in a fun, unique direction, but still parallels sort of what's going on.
With Kate and Luke, or
the kids in general.
Oh, okay, got
kids in general.
Yeah, huh? That's good. I didn't catch up. I didn't catch that at first. Yeah, I do gotta say I really enjoyed watching watching their relationship grow and how it progressed, and it was just really funny how like they come from two different ways of growing up. You know, Sherry was, well, it's presumed that she was somewhat of like a troublemaker, and Ken was like a straight edge. And then being able to find themselves at such a late age in life, and then seeing how she shifts his way of thinking it's just so nice. Like it's like it wouldn't have happened if she was like another dude and it'd be like, oh, let's just go mess things up. But like because she was a woman, and then she was like, no, like you should do these fun things. It was so sincere and so childlike and innocent, you know. It's like she was able to like revert him back to that time of like having a certain like sense of curiosity for doing these like little mischievous things.
Yes, and we'll certainly talk about that. Like I said, we tease because we're still not in spoiler territory, but
So hard.
So hard
I want to
indeed.
get there.
But one of the staples of this show, and this doesn't reveal plot points, but it is the fact that the music in this show is absolutely fantastic, and they were the creators were blown away by the simple fact that they were allowed to use so much music. On average, it's about 4 to 6 songs per episode. Well, before I even list all the
Nice,
songs,
you got 'em.
well, I don't have every single one. I have the highlights. But what for you stood out? Don't give the context quite yet, but just the name, the song, and the artist.
For me, it was Wonderwall by Oasis, because it like over when that song came out, and then after that song came out, it became one of those songs where just like it becomes kind of like a joke after a while, because like everyone knew it on guitar, so it's like you see someone with the guitar, it becomes a joke. Well, in my personal life, it becomes a joke where it's like, oh, do you know Wonderwall? It's like one of those songs where you're like, oh God, not Wonderwall. But here, it's just like it still has like the gravitas of like, as in like when they came out.
That initial
That
feeling.
Yeah, like it still has the it hasn't been ruined yet in a sense, at least for the time, because now it's just like
Right
it's
on.
a great song, but it's just like it to me it's too much of a joke nowadays.
Right on. Well, there's the typical songs, Breakfast at Tiffany's. And
Oh,
that's
my God.
that's a funny moment in the show. But then the fact that you have, we opened up with Ace of Base, Beautiful Life, that has a lot of great tie-ins. There's Offspring, there's Elton John, Weezer, Tori Amos, Mary J. Blige even has a song there, Spin Doctors, so Bloodhound Gang, so much to kind of pull from, and it really sets the tone. But I've seen shows and movies where it's just kind of over the top and it turns into a music video for the sake of being a music video, just to say like we're artsy and we're setting the tone and putting you in the mood.
Got it.
Whereas this, it was just part of it.
Yeah.
It's no different than Cameron Crowe's Almost Famous is an ode to music and bands and so forth. That film is so well renowned and beautiful for that. This uses the songs so intricately and perfectly to underscore and highlight the emotions, but not in a like, ooh, look at us kind of way.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I gotta say the music is utilized in the perfect way. It's definitely one of the main tools you use to, like you said, convey the underlying emotion that you're seeing. Yeah. I didn't know there were so many.
44 songs in total.
Wow.
Across 10 episodes.
That's incredible.
And Jeff, our engineer, Jeff, when you're ready, feel free to, if he's also ready, just let me know and we can bring in our guest.
Working on it.
All right. Jeff says he's working on it. So that's a little teaser right there for you still. Okay, well, it's a little bit tough because I wanted to talk with him a little bit of non-spoiler stuff. So we're getting to that point where eventually we're gonna have to get into spoiler stuff. But I guess before we do, let me give a little plug to our CEO, Maria Menounos. Ooh, having some fun. All right. Speaking of fun, do you want to have fun, learn, and grow in all areas of your life? Well, I'm sure you do, and therefore have we got a podcast for you.
Ooh.
It's Conversations with Maria Menounos, the podcast edition, which is hosted, as I mentioned, by our CEO and founder, Maria Menounos, and it drops every Friday on iTunes. Conversations with Maria Menounos features celebrity and influencer interviews along with secrets and tips on how to be better in all aspects of life, from health and wellness to career and relationships, finances, and more. Let our Maria be the big sister you never had. I mean, imagine if these kids had podcasts back in the day, especially this one. This would have helped them out.
Mm-hmm.
All you have to do is go to iTunes and subscribe to Conversations with Maria Menounos for free. And be sure to rate and comment. And when you do, let Maria know it was us who got you there. That's right. Check it out. Conversations with Maria Menounos, podcast edition.
All right.
All right. So, well, while we wait for our guest, let's just go ahead and call it. We're going to get into spoilers. Jeff, if you be so kind as to hit that spoiler alert button.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert.
There it is.
Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert.
I love that.
Spoiler
Siren.
alert.
You can't say you haven't been warned.
All right, here we go. Time to cut the butter, dude.
That's right. That's right.
Let's do this.
So these are spoilers for all the 10 episodes of season 1.
Oh boy.
Oh boy. Let's start. Okay, I didn't spoil things for you, although I'm wondering if the internet spoiled things for you as far as that it was a lesbian coming of age story.
No, I had no idea. I thought as usual, like it sets
As usual.
as not as usual, but like I thought as usual. No, but like, well, the way how the show is set up is that you think it's Luke's story, but for the most part, it kind of is. But I feel like Kate was the real star of the show, and I think how the way she's presented is through the eyes of Luke at first, but then so you get to see kind of in a sense what Luke is seeing, like how Luke is able to see her, and through that you're able to see like, okay, Luke is the main character and that's the girl that's the girl he wants. It's like, cool, I want to see how this goes. But then as the story progresses, you start to see that, oh, this is not really Luke's story. This is more Kate's story, because you start to see her more individually without Luke's eyes. They start to reveal more things. You start to see how she looks at Emmeline, and you start to see you start picking up on how she's a lesbian, and the more you start picking that up, the more it's like it becomes her story just as much as Luke's.
Well, that's what I appreciated. It wasn't bounded by this thing of who's the protagonist, who's not. To me, the fact that you have essentially 4 protagonists, you have Ken, Sherry, Luke, and of course Kate.
Yeah.
It breaks those conventions right off the bat. But part of the reason why it is perhaps slow is because it has to filter that through an archetype of sorts before it breaks the boundaries.
Right.
And so when you talk about those moments of Luke, and seeing her through that lens, yeah, it's quick in development, and while he's sweet and innocent, at the end of the day, he just wants to get his first kiss out of the way with her. But then when it happens, and the way that it happens, it's something that I think she's felt for a long time, but now kissing him just confirms it.
Yeah.
And that's why she really just drops her guard, and my mouth dropped to the floor when she's like, I'm a lesbian, I ain't into you.
She's like, I think I'm a lesbian. Like right away, like right after the kiss, that's like the revelation she has. It's just like, yeah, this confirmed it. That was also a really great scene. I loved how he had the makeup on, and like you could see the makeup highlighted in I guess like the purple light. Which looking at, yeah, it was a great scene. The way I took it is like how he was in makeup too, was that like he's trying to be, he wants her to like him so much.
I'm going to quickly interrupt because we have talent on the line.
Hello there.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. This is Anthony and Phil.
Hello there. Hi, I'm Anthony.
Nice to meet you guys.
What's that?
Nice to meet you guys.
Nice to meet you as well.
Likewise.
So for those of you just joining us, we have Luke on the line, or the character of Luke. And we were actually just talking over your storyline at the moment. First off, big congrats. We love the show and can't say enough good things about it.
Well, thank you.
But kind of let's backtrack. I've been doing a lot of in the research that I found. The creators, Ben and Michael, spoke about how you in particular had a hand in Luke's dialogue in the way that it made it authentic. And can you kind of speak to that, of your collaboration with the writers to bring this character to life?
Yeah, sure. So, when I first sat down with Ben and Mike, we talked about, what it was like growing up in the 90s, and they shared their experiences. And just from and this isn't just any other 90s setting. This is in the suburbs. This is in Boring, Oregon. But at the same time, it would be a bit different for an African American kid, on how they would do things and how he would walk and talk. So I just had a say, and they let me. I'm so grateful to them for allowing me to have a say in that, on the slang he would use and the different, mannerisms that he would just naturally have and that I naturally have. So it was pretty fun to do that.
And what would you say? I mean, first off, how similar is the location to where you live? And then B, what's the experience like of growing up in this day and age where smartphones are basically the norm, to 1996 when most kids don't even have a cell phone?
Right. Yeah, it was the whole 90s era thing was kind of weird. Just like all the slang and just you know, because when Mike and Ben they were talking to us about the slang, and there were a few back and forth like debates. I was like, bruh, no one says this stuff that y'all are saying. I promise you, no one's ever said that. He
All
was
that
like,
in a
no,
bag
and they're
of
like,
chips.
no, no, it's true. Like, so that whole 90s era was pretty weird to me. Like, they had to explain to me like what Mallrats was. I didn't know. Um, yeah, I was like, it was crazy. And the setting of where I live in, the 90s, and boring. It's somewhat similar. It's pretty secluded. The people here aren't as open minded as other places, as like New York or LA, where those are pretty popular places for people going there uh, to try to make their dreams come true. But honestly, now that I'm looking at it, they're both pretty similar.
Hmm. And they did an extensive search to find and cast all the actors, including yourself. Can you sort of backtrack and tell us, what that process was like for you to audition and get the role?
Sure. So while I was auditioning for Everything Sucks, I was doing Proud Mary, a movie I did last year with Taraji P Henson,
Oh yeah.
and it was in Boston. And before that, I had done a pilot for ABC, and I really wanted that to get picked up. So I didn't want to take another 3 month series that I was going to be working for 3 months, when there was a possibility that this pilot ABC could come back and say, hey, we want you to. The pilot got picked up. You can't do anything else. So I was pretty hesitant to really dive deep into Luke and Everything Sucks as a whole, because I was like, I don't really know. This is, what if the pilot goes? I don't want to, mess that up. So I was, pretty nervous to do it.
Hmm.
One second.
Well, I'm glad it worked out for you overall. And what are some of the things? I mean, as it slowly starts to pick up with audiences, what are some of the things that you're seeing that you're like, in terms of fan reaction for whether the show or for your character? What's some of the positives that you can highlight that you're like, yes, you guys got that. I'm glad.
I would say just the whole awkwardness of the show. It was supposed to be deliberately awkward at first.
Mm.
Uh, it's supposed to be, and the fans really pick up on that, and everybody kind of picks up on, like, that prepubescent era where there was that time where everything was just awkward, and you're trying to figure out who you are, and it's the beginning to you figuring out who you are, and that's the biggest thing for me, and just the relationship with Luke and Kate, how everything that we really discussed into bringing that relationship to life and to make it as realistic and to make it as heart breaking as it could be. The fans really picked up on that, and the critics too. And those two are really the main ones that I'm really glad that everybody picked up on.
Nice. So I just want to ask a little fun question here. So in one of the episodes, the drama kids get a hold of you, and they put makeup on your face. And I gotta say, I thought it was hysterical. But I was just wondering, what was that like to have makeup on your face and knowing that I was gonna be seen by a lot of people? Were you nervous at all? Or were you just like, you know what, I gotta just do it? And then, did you have fun while I was on? And like, how was that all about?
So that was like a 3 to 4 day shoot. That we
Oh
had to
boy.
do. So no, like, oh boy is right. Like, I did not like having all that. At first, it was cool. I was like, okay, this is funny. It was getting the laugh out of everybody. And then, like, the second day, I was like, all right, I'm over it. Like, I was over it. And we did when they tied me down to the mattress and, like, they had Sydney, who plays Emmeline, putting the makeup on. That felt very real. And I was just like, okay, all right, I'll be glad when I go home, or like this scene is over, because the whole scene with them putting the makeup on us and then us trying to explain what we wanted to do with the movie, and then me drinking the Zima and getting drunk, that took like 3 to 4 days at least, and there was a lot of shots and a bunch of stuff. So that whole thing, I'm hoping that I don't have to go through anything that intense next season. Hopefully, we get one. But yeah, that was definitely crazy. It was an array of feelings about that.
Yeah, man, I gotta say, it looked quite tough, but I gotta say, it did pay off, man. It was hilarious. I enjoyed watching that scene. I also want to ask, was there any scenes in particular that you had the most trouble with, like trying to convey some sort of emotion that you just couldn't nail, and you had to like reach out for help for that like particular scene?
All the emotional scenes are pretty hard. The phone booth scene, that was a tough one. Because that was a tough one, because for Peyton and I both, because I guess we both had high expectations of what we wanted the scene to be, and on the page it read like so amazingly, and it was just this moment of Kate coming to this revelation and this realization that she can finally be who she always wanted to be. And Luke, I think people kind of see that scene and they would think, oh, he's being a jerk, he's trying to hold her back from letting her be who she wants to be, she doesn't like him. And I think from his perspective, I really wanted to convey from his perspective that he's really reaching out, because in a way he's insecure and he's put a lot into trying to get this girl to like him with the music video. And I really, really wanted that to convey and to play on camera as much as it did on the page, because the writers did such a great job of writing it. And I really wanted to do it justice on screen. And so I did reach out for help from our director, Raru So Young, who directed episodes 6, 5, and 7. And she was so instrumental, like giving us notes. The first take was the best take in my opinion. So instrumental in giving us notes. And one time she went over to give us notes and she started crying. And that whole scene is very, very emotional. The takes that they used were emotional, but there are other takes that were just the level of emotion was just kicked up, just like went like 10 notches. It was crazy. That was a really hard one and a fun one to do.
I have to applaud your guys' chemistry as far as the friendships. Yes, with Kate, but even like with McQuaid and Tyler. And so I wanted to ask you, how did you guys deliberately go about forming that friendship that would translate on screen?
We were all just our characters. And so once we really got together and gelled and talked for a little bit, as soon as we were rehearsing a scene or did the first scene together, it was just instant chemistry. And Mike, once he really explained, how close the three of them were, it was so much easier to really not just act like best friends, but really be best friends on camera. And we got along on and off screen, so that obviously was a big help. And yeah, so it was Mike and Ben were really instrumental in that too.
Got it. And what was it like to interact with the adults, because they play such a big part in this in a way that Anthony and I, we were talking, that we've never really seen in a TV show, and they play such an integral part. So what was your guys' interactions with them, on and off screen?
We love them. We love them, love them, love them. Patch is my favorite TV dad. Like, better than Danny Tanner, better than Huxtable, like, just my favorite. Now he is. And Claudine, we like one of the first times we met together, we went out for breakfast and then straight to rehearsal. And the discussion that we had about the relationship and just Sherry's struggle to really being a single mom, and Luke's dad leaving, and how that had an impact on her parenting and like on her in general. And like that was really a great conversation. And just Patch and Claudine, their scenes together are some of my favorite, next to Kate and Emmeline's beside myself. Like their chemistry is just magic on and off screen, and it's just great. I love them. We all love them.
Right on. I gotta say, so going back to the scene in the closet where you guys do the 7 minutes in heaven. There is I don't know, there is a, well, you pretty much, you guys kiss, you and Kate kiss. And I gotta say, was that your first on-screen kiss, or like, how'd that go down? What was going through your mind when that was like reeling up to happen?
That was the first, that was the first major on-screen kiss, because that whole like scene was pretty intense, because Peyton was really nervous, and I was excited because I had never really done a kiss on screen before, and that we had a closed set that day to make everyone feel comfortable. I'm not even gonna lie, it was like kind of strange to have a bunch of grown men pointing cameras at you while you're in small space kissing, but like it ended up being really fun. Like, we didn't have anybody watching anything on the monitors. Like, it was a closed set. Anybody that wasn't supposed to be there on set didn't have to be on set that day, wasn't there. It was a pretty sweet but kind of intense moment.
Nice.
I mean, in one of the things, I mean, as we're talking about that scene, to me, that was the turning point of this entire series. And as I was saying kind of before you came on, it was the moment where my jaw dropped of, wow, this is something completely unique that I've never seen. Because already the fact, it wasn't stated, but we were blurring any sort of idea of racial relationships and so forth. And now the fact that you have Kate, who's white, and your character, and the fact that now we're entering kind of, when you're dealing with those characters, yes, there's the idea of sexuality and coming of age, but now that's something in a unique way that I've never seen before. And what I appreciated was how Kate and Luke never really talk about that, whether it's the racial stuff, or at first you're kind of talking with her about what's the lesbian, going through that book, and I guess that there's not really a question, but can you kind of speak to that, what you found as far as their relationship and why their friendship works so well, beyond just him wanting to date her?
I think it works very well because they lift each other up, but at the same time they're each other's kryptonite, because they listen to, they say, if you really look at the relationship, they say the same thing, but they don't listen to each other. Like, both of them just want to be understood. And so Peyton and I both, um, we really wanted that to convey on screen how both of them are just extremely misunderstood, and that chemistry, uh, and also like just me and Peyton, like we put our minds together, and Mike and Ben, and we just really took the time out to really go deep down into these characters and just really analyze like the fact that they are, both uh, heavily flawed. And let's not back down from that, because one can be seen as the protagonist and one can be seen as the protagonist and the antagonist. Is like, let's just talk about all of their flaws together, and people will fall in love with it a lot more, and people will understand both of them equally, and so people uh, identify with both of them. And Peyton is such a great actress, and when we were doing all of our emotional scenes and all of the funny scenes, it was just great to really sit down and you know instantly both of us were Luke and Kate once they caught action. It's like sparks and flames and all that great stuff. So yeah, I love the chemistry between Luke and Kate and Peyton and I.
What was it like to shoot the fake movie? Because you obviously have to do that well for the show, but is there just kind of a moment where you just let's have some fun with this aspect of it? Because regardless of how it actually turns out, it's meant to be not as high level as obviously the actual Everything Sucks show itself.
Right. Yeah. So that was a lot of fun. We didn't actually go to uh Dominguez Rocks. It's a real place, but it's inspired by an actual place called Vasquez Rocks. Dominguez Rocks is inspired by another place called Vasquez Rocks, which Star Trek was filmed at and all of that. But we went to a place called Bend, Oregon, and this really desert, kind of place. And it was that was really fun. We shot a lot there, but on screen it only portrayed to be like a couple seconds. It felt like, because we shot so much there. Like it was a long hike up the hill where we had to shoot, and it was a lot of intense uh shooting. But on screen it's like it was like that. Like it just came and then went, and then that was so fun. And we wrapped there. So our last scenes that we ever shot of the show were in that place, and it made it even more special. And as far as the bad movie, Mike really told me how it's inspired by those oh gosh, what's that? It's actually inspired by those really bad like 50s movies that are like supposed to be deliberately bad.
Oh, all the B movies, the genre
B horror
ones.
movies.
They're supposed to be. It's like that's what he was really trying to get out of it. And once he showed me it, like I was like, okay, I understand now. Like I get it now. Like like I know what you mean by deliberately bad movie, because at first I just wasn't getting it. I was like, what the heck? I don't understand this. And he was like, no, just follow me. Yeah. And so I had to trust him on that, because I wasn't getting it like at all.
Well, here's the nice part about it. One of the reasons the show spoke to me so much is I kind of related to Luke and, made my own movies in that way. And so when you're that age, I think, at least for me, it's not like you're obviously trying to make a bad movie. You're trying to make the best movie. And despite your efforts, it turns out the way it turns out. And that's what's so fun about it. And when you're down on yourself, or Luke is rather, in those final episodes, I really felt that, and it was authentic to what I've been through. And the idea where not only are you dealing with Kate, all of a sudden, even now you're friends, you're sort of pushing them away, and where it gets really dark is the similarities, where you start to identify of, okay, there's Luke, and then there's my father, and how the two are all of a sudden meshing into one, simply because of this one love. But it doesn't have to be that way, and the fact that it breaks that mold where you don't go down that dark path is what I truly appreciated. So kudos.
Yeah. Thank you.
Speaking of that, the creators have teased sort of a season 2 of what can happen, as far as Leroy coming back into the picture. But I wanted to kind of get from your perspective, what would you like to see as, imagine fan fiction. What would you like to see in season 2 more of?
Well, as far as Leroy is concerned, I don't even know. Like, there's so much that can happen, and when we shoot, obviously it'll be this year, and then it'll come out top of February 2019. So it could be like a year later, and Leroy's sort of kind of around, and he's like, in and out of his life again. Like, you never know. But in general, I would like to see us, Luke, slowly come into his identity as a young man, a little bit more grown up. Like 15-year-old Luke, like not, these are like the stages on beginning of him finding, out who he is. And so, I do want to see us, deal with, racism at that time, and, how it affects him, and, him growing up, not seeing a lot of people that look like him. I do want us to talk about his relationship with Kate too. Like, when as Ken and Sherry's relationship evolves, like, what is that going to mean for Luke and Kate? If they, they can eventually become like step siblings or something like that. Like, you never know. And so it just, adds more levels and depth into their relationship, from crush to, sister, or, guy that I really feel uncomfortable around, to brother, that'll be kind of funny. But definitely deal with more societal issues in a as be as lighthearted as we can. But because you always want to attract new people with the subject matter that we're dealing with, and it's very important that we do that. So I would like to see more of that.
Perfect. And beyond just the show, are there any projects that you can speak about, or anything that you would like to, as time goes by, try your hand at?
Yeah, so I do music. I have a single called Shine that's on iTunes and Google Play and streaming apps and all that stuff for music. But I would like to continue to do more roles that are meaningful. I mean, now that everything sucks, I'm really grateful for it, because people are really starting to see what I can do and the range of emotions that I have to have and convey for Luke. People are like, okay, this kid's a really good actor, which I'm grateful for. And so now I feel like if I don't choose my roles wisely and correctly, people are gonna be like, okay, he's a good actor, but his role selection is terrible. And I really want to honor those people who have really fallen in love with my gift and my acting, by choosing roles that are meaningful to them and meaningful to people in general. So meaningful roles, definitely a lot more of.
Got it. And what's the best way for people to stay updated with everything you've got going on? Is it Twitter, Instagram, or
Yes, the Instagram is Jahi Winston, JahiWinston, and then my Twitter is Jahi Diallo, JahiDillo, and then my Facebook is the same thing as the Twitter.
Perfect. And is there, as an opportunity, any final words that you want to share with the audience while they're captivated and you have them?
Yes. Thank you so much for everybody that has watched Everything Sucks so far. You guys are amazing. We love you guys, and tell your friends and family to go on Netflix and continue to watch the show, and continue to spread the word. And yeah, thank you.
Perfect. Well, thank you for spending time with us and sharing everything, and we hope to continue seeing you on more projects.
Thank you so much.
All right, take care.
Have a good one. Oh, man.
All right.
What a fine gentleman.
Indeed. Indeed.
All right. So in the thick of spoilers, right?
We are in the thick of spoilers. And one last time again, thank you, Jahi Winston, a.k.a. Luke, for joining us. So, all right. So we kind of skipped around and whatnot, but as was always going to be the case, it's always great when you have one of the leads come in to your discussion. But all right, so we were still kind of talking about Luke and Kate.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what you wanted to continue with?
Yeah, I didn't have a chance to ask him, but I wanted to ask him because so he comes from a place where he likes this girl, right? And then it's flat out. She tells him flat out it's not gonna happen. So in his headspace, where does it go from there? Like, is he capable of being friends with her? Because at the end, it does. It's like, it's implied that they do become friends. So it's just like I wanted to see what headspace Luke is coming from, as to like how he's gonna be able to like assimilate. Like, okay, I can't like her, but I can like her as a friend, and I think it's something that's so valuable. Like I guess it's not maybe a lesson or something that can be taught, but it's
Well,
like it's valuable to be able to get that like shift of mind.
well, not that I don't mean to for it to come off in this sort of way, because I don't want people thinking that someone in your life has to serve a purpose. But yeah,
Right.
they should bring in positivity in one way, shape, or form. Where Kate is concerned, as he did point out, she at times is an antagonist to him.
Mm-hmm.
She does push him, but she knows exactly how to push him. They both lost a parent,
Right.
but for two different reasons, and she's clear to point that out. Of hey, I don't get to be mad at my mom. She doesn't get that choice, and as far as creatively, she also pushes him to he changes the ending of the movie, and it's tough to say for better or worse, but certainly in his mind for better.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's a great asset to have. And I think he's coming from it at a place of realizing that, yeah, right now it's important for me to have more meaningful relationships rather than, just be a guy and go after girls.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I think that's how I read it, at least.
Yeah. Yeah, like the way I got it was just that he was able to, like with the ending of the film, he was able, in a sense, it's kind of like If You Love Her, Let Her Go, in a sense, because like he has such deep emotions for this girl, but he knows it's not gonna happen. So it's like, you know what, I accept that, and like because I wouldn't say like he loves her, but like there's a sense of like true deep rooted compassion for her that's just like I finally get it. Like I finally get what you're coming from, and I accept that, and you know what, I'm here for you still.
Well, what's nice is, as far as the actual show itself, they state that they had a very diverse writers group, and so they could bring in these different voices, whether it be for Luke, whether it be for Kate, and they actually consulted with the organization GLAAD to flesh out Kate's arc even more truthful and honest. And so I think it does make sense. And and initially, as you're pointing out, Luke is that hesitant. Again, he goes back to the book, and he's like, well, it says here you kind of like guys, so maybe I'm your guy.
Yeah, exactly. I was just like
trying, grasping straws at that point.
I know.
But let's shift gears, only because I do want to touch on everything. And by the way, we can't get into everything fully in depth. That's why the comment section is for. If you guys, we'll do this. How about this? If you guys write some good comments, and if there's some stuff that really comes out that you want us to explore further, then we'll certainly do it. Are you open to that?
Yeah, I'm so open to that.
All
I
right.
love this show.
So
Calling
rate,
you
comment,
out.
tell your
Calling you-
friend.
Yeah.
Yeah, listen, we'll do it.
Yeah,
you
we'll
gotta
go
you gotta
into
let
it.
us know that you're willing to have us do it.
You have the voice, so
That's
know,
right.
we'll
But let's
listen.
so let's talk about Ken and Sherry,
Yes.
because
So
now
fun.
that we're in spoiler talk, the fact that they're essentially living life as teenagers again, and it's a very midlife crisis type of moment.
Oh,
but,
yeah.
but in a completely different way than normally is portrayed.
Right. They're
And-
not going out to get buying like a motorcycle or some like dumb thing like that. Yeah.
Yeah, they just want to be alleviated of responsibility and just TP houses and
And smoke weed.
Yeah.
And dance to I forgot what that song was. But yeah, it was
well, he was
hilarious.
dancing to breakfast at Tiffany, but
Oh yeah. No, when he's like in his tidy whities.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a hilarious scene. Oh man. Yeah, I love like their relationship like just felt so sincere, you know? There was never a point where it was just like, oh, this guy just wants something from her. No, it was just like, no, he wants a friend. but then like it starts off as a friend, and there is like initial like they're attracted to each other. Of course, like there has to be, but it starts off as like, hey, like you're a single parent, I'm a single parent. I know how hard it is. How about we talk about how hard it is, and then and they call it like a support group, and that turns into like this just beautiful friendship, and through that friendship, they're able to rekindle their youth in a sense. They're able to go back to revert back to their youth, and then it's just I can't stop saying it's just so beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, for all intents and purposes, they become a better version of themselves, and it comes to a clash when all of a sudden Ken assumes what the right responsibility and kind of tactic is towards disciplining Luke, and they disagree on that. So there's going to be things to work out, but they both see a goodness within each other and a value that one can bring to the other as far as parenting, and so that really works out. And it's that ultra sweet moment from Luke when he has the usher bring both of them in to the same seat to watch his movie.
You'll be sitting next to that gentleman. Yeah, I thought it was really nice. Very, very suave way to do that too. It's so slick, It's just like, that's so cute.
Yes, it's his version of saying sorry, and oftentimes, it doesn't. That's what I think he's realizing is that where his dad was so singular on making movies, and as long as basically him being an asshole justified his art,
right?
He's realizing that the two don't have to coexist differently. They can actually mesh together and complement each other.
Yeah, and I think he's able to come to this conclusion because he's still learning his way. Like he's still learning his way in life, and how the father he sees his father's thoughts, but as an adult. So once you're an adult and you have those thoughts, they become more concrete into the person that you become. But I feel like since he's still growing, he's still fluid in like the way his mind works. So it's a really great thing that Luke is able to learn this at such a young age, because I feel it's going to benefit him as he grows older. While like in the show, it's the father's thoughts is presented in like he's already concrete. Like we don't know how he grew up. Like we don't know when he learned that a true artist doesn't need family or friends. But Luke's like, no, I think that like you draw so much inspiration from friends and family that feeds into your art.
Absolutely. And one of the things that I appreciate about this quad of people, I don't know if that's the term, but is
squad.
Like as far as Kate, right now, well, first off, the mom Sherry tells Luke like it's okay for us to have secrets, and the fact that that changes the rules, and in fact Kate and Luke do end up having a secret that their parents don't know, because Kate does want to tell her dad, and yet she doesn't. So that leaves the door open for a wonderful season 2, and I think it would have felt disingenuous at that moment for her to tell. It's not like today's coming out. We're talking still 1996, and it's a very even a couple of years ago, it wasn't so easy to quote come out.
Yeah, they don't have a coming out day.
No, not at all. They have a stay in the closet day.
Yeah.
But all right, and I know there's so much still to talk about on that. But I do want to also touch upon Emmeline and Oliver, simply because it's, in a way, it's the pedestal of what perhaps Luke is trying to aspire to. And the flip side of that is when that doesn't go the way Emmeline hopes, now she's discovering something else with Kate. So I want to get your perspective on all of that.
As to how Luke sees like Oliver and
just
Emmeline
anything, that the whole storyline, and
okay, I thought it was like it's kind of like a mirror of real life, pretty much. It's Oliver. He's just so into acting that, well, in a sense, it's kind of like also with Luke's father, how he's just like, I don't like a true actor doesn't need friends or family. Like I'm just gonna go do my own thing. And Emmeline, I didn't notice it before, but you brought up that she was attracted to his passion for the art, and once she sees how dangerous such passion can be, she's left alone to kind of without, and she also, she also, it's very important to note that she's always been with someone. She's always someone's girl. She's never been like her own person. And so once he leaves, she's I see it as like she's in limbo. She's not with anybody. She's with herself, and she's trying to figure that out. And while she's in that state of mind, she picks up on what Kate's putting down for her, and she's attracted to that. But I'm not sure. It might sound a little negative, but I'm not sure how sincere that is. Like, cause a girl who's always in relationships, like, does she actually have? Is she able to develop who she really is? Because like, has she had enough time being alone to do that?
Well, I mean, it's. I don't think it's a negative thing. I think you're correct in having that worry. Part of that development, though, is also having the right people around you, and pushing you towards that, which we've highlighted with Kate and Luke. And in a sense, maybe Emmeline hopes that she can grow with Kate. And I don't know if she wants this, like, if she sees. I think there's a side to Emmeline where she idealized Oliver. I think a lot of guys and girls in their first couple of relationships, maybe even till they're like 20, 30, they have this ideal version of what the relationship is, and that's why it goes sometimes so badly, is because, wait, you realize that the other person that you're dating is still at the end of the day a human being. Right. And that doesn't give them right. I'm not saying and advocating that if someone hits you that it's like, oh, well, it's just not the ideal version. No, but it's just like, if he's always going to be there on a white horse every time you need him, or vice versa, it's not going to work out that way. And so now that Oliver, who she just gave her complete trust to, isn't there, now perhaps with Kate, I think she'll be a little bit more different. And I think it's more experimental. And we'll see where it kind of goes from there. I don't know.
Because I still feel she does like have that wild side when she was with Oliver. That doesn't just go away.
No, not at all.
Yeah, so it's like I just want to see, because like there wasn't like a big push for her to, go towards Kate in a sense. It just kind of like happened. Does that make sense?
It did. I mean, she had Kate feel up her boob, and then I think that's what kind of brought it all together, and at least got the ball rolling.
Yeah, that happened. Yes, that happened.
But here's the thing: Kate is very reserved, and as much as Luke is bringing her out of her shell, to have someone older like an Emmeline, and who potentially, is attracted to women in the same way, I think that could be nice for Kate to bring her out of her shell.
Okay.
We'll see.
I don't know. Yeah, we'll see. Because there wasn't even like, I guess there were like subtle hints that Emmeline was into women, but like it wasn't like anything set in stone.
She was willing to try.
Right? Okay, so that's what it is. So she's willing to try.
I don't know. This is I'm not the author of this.
Like the show hasn't confirmed that she's like for sure into women, but she's like, because like that's why I come back. Is she sincere about it? Because she could just be seeing, here's another person that likes me, who thinks I'm perfect, and I like that she thinks that I'm perfect, and that's why I like her.
Well, not that it's better for Kate or Emmeline in any sort of way, but at least in my judgmental mind, it is of Emmeline's not doing this to destroy Kate.
Right.
Whether or not she knows the intent behind her doing this.
It could end up destroying her, though, but yeah.
It could, but at least it's coming from a place of innocent rather than like, let me mess with you because I know you're a lesbian and I'm going to pretend to like you and then be like, ooh, look at you, lesbian.
Totally. Okay.
That would be hurtful.
Yeah. That's brutal.
All right. Any predictions for season 2 before we wrap?
Oh my God.
AfterBuzz TV predictions.
All right. Where's my boy Tyler at? I want to know where Tyler went.
He's gonna be a great commercial actor.
Is that what it was implied? Because he he takes up the mantle of Oliver's like his coat and his glasses at the end, and he takes off just like Oliver did. Is he running away? I don't think so. I don't think he's gonna be running away, but I think he's gonna be running away from his friends because he feels so betrayed, so brushed under the rug, and I felt like the first season of the show kind of did him, towards the end at least, kind of did him dirty, Like,
Did him wrong.
they did him wrong, dude. Like, and I really wanted him to like pick up on like how the pig-tailed girl, what was her name? I believe it was Leslie.
Yes, good old Leslie.
She was like hitting on him, and I was just like, yeah, Tyler, like, come on, pick up. But he's so into his own world that he just couldn't pick up on that. And I really want to know what's going on, what happens with Tyler. I want to see how he confronts, if he's gonna confront his friends at all, and be like, hey, you guys did this to me. I feel this way because of that. Or if they're gonna have to go up to him and be like, hey, what's wrong? And then it's like, you don't know what's wrong. You guys kind of like hung me out to dry like towards the end of the first season. What do you mean, what's wrong?
We'll see.
I want to see if Oliver comes back. That'd be interesting.
I think he could. I think he will. You know, maybe it doesn't go his way. He'll end up back and boring.
Yeah.
And of course, there's the big cliffhanger of Kate telling her dad, Leroy
coming back.
So there's a lot to explore, and I'm excited for all of it. One thing that's for certain is that everything won't suck. Maybe it might suck for the characters, but as far as fans, it's not going to suck. There's a lot to look forward to. In the meantime, as I said, you can let us know, comments in the description box. We'll converse with you, and let us know if you guys want to follow up to this. We'll be glad to do it. In the meantime, where can people interact with you?
Yes, hit me up with any questions. I'd love to talk more about this show. My name is Anthony Becerra. You can find me everywhere at Tony B, the letter B. So Tony B Tony _. Again, Tony B Tony _. That's where you can find me.
And you can follow me at Phil Svitek or go to my website, philsvitek.com. Thank you guys as always. Truly, truly appreciate it. We'll see you guys for another season.
And everything doesn't suck.
That's right.
But it's a great show.
Bye.
Peace out.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
See you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the host only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.